Food is undoubtedly one of the most enjoyable aspects of traveling around Japan. From savoring the freshest sushi to discovering hidden ramen shops, Japan offers a culinary adventure that is as diverse as it is delicious. However, to truly make the most out of your dining experiences, it helps to know a few tips and tricks. And in this video, I break them down into different parts. How to enjoy the most of what Japan has to offer, how to choose where to eat, how to dine on a budget, useful general knowledge, how a typical restaurant visit unfolds, and dining etiquette. Yes, that's a lot. I really mind my own experiences for this one because I want you to have the best dining moments you can have. My name is Mizhelle, you're watching Tokyo Pass 3, and these are the tips you need to know about eating and dining in Japan. Let's start with part 1, how to enjoy the most out of what Japan has to offer. Tip number 1, don't be afraid of raw egg. Every time I scroll on my feed and I see someone share a dish here in Japan and it has raw egg in it, there's always that one comment that says, ew, salmonella, which is fine. I wouldn't eat raw eggs in my country, but here in Japan, eggs are exceptionally fresh and safe to eat raw. It's part of the dining culture, and you'll see a lot of dishes like sushi or beefsteak bowl topped with the yolk of a raw egg. There's even restaurants that specialize in tamago kake gohan, which is a dish consisting of raw egg and soy sauce and any other toppings that you might want. The creamy texture and rich flavor add a unique element to the dishes, and honestly, if you don't try it, you're missing out. Tip number 2, check what the regional specialty is. The dishes that you probably want to try right away are sushi, tempura, tonkatsu, and those are great choices, but they're only the tip of the iceberg. If you're traveling extensively around the country, then I recommend you look up what the local specialty is for the region that you visit. For example, many of you will probably travel to Kawaguchiko to see Mount Fuji, and the local specialty there is Hoto noodles. Earlier this year, I traveled to Fukuoka and I really love their mentaiko, and after that I went to Nagasaki and also enjoyed the local specialty, which is castella. It's really fun to discover different flavors whichever place you visit. Tip number 3, don't limit yourself to Ichiran. I know Ichiran is very easy to go to because they have English menus and you get your own private booth when you enter, and there's very little contact. It's practically an introvert's dream come true. But Japan has a lot of ramen shops offering different styles and flavors, and exploring lesser known joints maybe just around the corner from your hotel can lead you to discover your own favorite bowl. Case in point, I have a video about unique ramen in Tokyo, and go give that a watch if you're interested after you're done with this video. Tip number 4, visit a shotengai. Shotengai, or shopping arcades, are traditional shopping streets often lined with family-owned eateries, shops, and stalls. They offer an authentic glimpse into local life and are great places to try street food, traditional sweets, and home-style cooking. In Tokyo, probably the most known shotengai is Yanaka around the Ueno area. Personally, one of my favorites is the one in Jujo because they have yakitori that's around 30 to 60 yen. It's really a steal. Osaka also has the longest shopping street in Japan, which is Tenjin-bashi Suji, and the last time I was there, I walked the length of it. I was tired by the end of it when I was not looking at shops anymore, but it was a fun experience. Tip number 5, visit an omotesando. Not to be confused with a popular shopping street in Tokyo. When you say sando or omotesando or urasando, these refer to the approach to a shrine or a temple, and they're often lined with shops and eateries. The one that you've probably heard of is Nakamisedori, which is an approach to a temple in Asakusa called Sensoji. The latest one I've featured on this channel is the one in Shibamata, and if you want to check what you can find in that area, go check this video right here. Tip number 6, visit a depachika. Depa stands for department store, while chika means underground. So usually department stores have like basement floor 1, basement floor 2, and one of these floors are dedicated entirely to food. They're culinary wonderlands offering a wide range of gourmet food, from beautifully presented bento boxes to exquisite pastries. It's a great place to pick up high quality, affordable meals or snacks. Tip number 7 is to visit a local supermarket. Yes, people go to supermarkets to find ingredients for cooking, which is also one way you can explore Japan. But if you're not that keen to cook, there are a lot of ready-made dishes in the supermarket too. If you're tired of dining out, you can just grab a pack of microwavable rice and choose among the many ready-made dishes you can find in a supermarket. Tip number 8, visit an ichiba. Ichiba refers to a market, and there are various types in Japan, from fresh fish markets like Tsukiji to local farmers markets. Most recently, I visited Omicho in Kanazawa, and while the layout was quite confusing for me because I'm normally directionally challenged, I had really excellent sushi with nodoguro or sea bass for just 2,000 yen. That was really a steal. Tip number 9, visit an izakaya. An izakaya is a Japanese-style pub where you can enjoy a variety of small dishes along with drinks. You can also try different types of Japanese alcohol. Now that I've given you a general idea of where you can find a variety of Japanese food to try, here's how you can narrow them down. Part 2, how to choose where to eat. Tip number 10, use Google Maps. If I'm visiting a place and I know that I will probably have a meal over there, then I check Google Maps for what my options are. Usually I would use keywords like lunch or dinner, or if I have something specific that I want to eat, then I put it as a keyword like curry or ramen or pizza. If you're already in the area, it's also good to know like how close these places are, and you also get to see reviews and photos and other things that are important for deciding where to eat. Tip number 11, check the topmost floors of department stores. So earlier I mentioned the basement floors of department stores for food that you want to take out. The topmost floors are usually the dining areas. They're usually a little bit more expensive, but if you are tired of trying to look where to eat and if you want something open for a long time, then usually it's a topmost floor. Tip number 12 is to check Taberogu or Hot Pepper. These are review and reservation websites dedicated to food, kind of like Yelp in the US. You can filter by budget, cuisine, or location to find exactly what you're in the mood for, but to be honest, I'm not a big user of these services. I don't know, I feel like the photos are a little bit uninspiring and it feels like a chore to wade through so many reviews. I prefer curated lists, which is why I do tip number 13, which is to Google using the search terms the place plus the Japanese word gurume. Obviously, this only works if you know the Japanese language to some extent. Gurume is the Japanese word for gourmet, although in Japanese, it doesn't necessarily have the connotation of fine dining or high-class restaurant. Basically, it's just good food. When I search using these terms, usually it's the media websites or magazine websites that come up. I find that their curated lists are a little bit more helpful. Moving on to part 3, how to dine on a budget, starting with tip number 14, supermarkets are the cheapest. I vouch for this. In my experience, it's not really the kombini, it's the supermarkets that offer the cheaper bentos for usually under 500 yen. And when they go on sale at the end of the day, they can even go as low as half price. And since we already mentioned it, tip number 15 is that convenience stores are on the lower end of the price spectrum. If you're choosing 1 to 3 items for a meal, then you can probably go under 1,000 yen, plus there's a lot of items to choose from. Tip number 16, lunch is cheaper than dinner. This is probably similar to many places around the world. Expect to pay around 1,000 to 3,000 yen for lunch, while dinner starts at 3,000. If you're aiming for a restaurant with a signature dish, sometimes you can get a toned down light version of that for lunch at a much cheaper price. Setting those steps aside, we now move on to part 4, useful general knowledge. We've reached around halfway of the tips by now, and if you're still watching, drop me a chopsticks in the comment section below so that I know that you've watched this part. Now moving on to tip number 17, lunchtime is usually from 11 to 2, while dinner is from 5 onwards. And I say this because it's easy to get carried away with exploring everything that's new around you to the point that you forget the time. The restaurants you can enter for lunchtime past 2 p.m. will significantly be narrowed down to a few options like chain restaurants or fast food shops. If you're near a department store, then maybe some of the restaurants on the topmost floor are open, but I wouldn't bet on it. Tip number 18, last orders are usually taken 13 minutes before closing time. So for example, if a restaurant says that their lunchtime is until 2 p.m., they will only accept orders until 1:30 p.m. So you can't go inside the restaurant past this time because they're already done taking orders, and no amount of demanding or forcing your way through would they accept you. Tip number 19, ramen, gyudon shops, as well as cafeterias typically have vending machines. If you're planning to go to these types of joints, then make sure you have cash on hand. And the way that you order is once you enter, you find the vending machine and then put in money, punch in your order, get your ticket, and then hand the ticket to the staff. It may feel daunting at first, but you'll be fine. Just make sure you don't hold up the line. All right, moving on to part 5, where I tell you how a typical visit to a restaurant unfolds. Starting with tip number 20. When you enter a restaurant and there is no queue, try to catch the attention of a nearby staff and they will come to you and ask you how many people are in your group. If you don't know Japanese and the staff doesn't seem to understand English, then you can hold up your fingers for visual aids followed by saying the actual number. If you start with the expression table 4, there's a good chance that it will just confuse them more, so just go straight to the number. 2 people, 4 people, something like that. Tip number 21, if there is a queue, there is almost always a sheet of paper where you write down your name and the number of people in your group. So make sure to check if there is a sheet first, because even if you line up and you're seemingly next in line, if you didn't write your name down, then the staff won't call you in. This usually doesn't apply to ramen shops, but doesn't hurt to check. Tip number 22, once you get in, you will be given a menu. If there is a tablet, then you order from the tablet. These days, it's also quite common to see QR codes. Tip number 23, if you don't understand the menu, then just use Google Translate. Tip number 24, you will also be given a wet towel or an oshibori. This is your one wet towel during your dining time, so make sure you use it effectively. Sometimes you will see Japanese people using their wet towels to wash their face, but I find that this is osan behavior or old man behavior. I would recommend against doing it. Tip number 25, if you enter an izakaya, there is an otoshi. Otoshi is a small appetizer served at the beginning of the meal, and it's not optional. It's a cover charge, so don't be surprised when it's added to your bill. Tip number 26, especially during dinner time, 1 drink per person will be required. So usually you will hear something like, "Toten wa 1 drink seido to narimasu, goryosho kudasai." So every person in your party has to order 1 drink, even if it's just a soft drink. Tip number 27, if you need to get your server's attention, use the bell. If there isn't one, simply catch the attention of a nearby server by raising your hand or calling out with "Sumimasen." Some people also say "Onegai shimasu." Personally, I find calling out a little bit too disruptive sometimes, so I just raise my hand when someone is nearby, and they usually notice it. Tip number 28. In family restaurants like Denny's or Saizeriya, they usually place the bill on the table once they've served all the dishes that you've ordered. In systems like this, you take the bill, go to the cashier to pay. In other restaurants, you might need to ask for the bill by saying "Kaikei onegai shimasu." Tip number 29, always place your payment on the tray provided. In my country, when you pay for something, you usually put it on the other person's hand, and it took some time for me to learn this because here in Japan, we always have a tray to put our cash payment into, and sometimes even card. Now, before COVID, it was the staff who had to put in credit card payments on the machine, but now these days, it's more of like you have to put the card by yourself. Tip number 30, there is no need to tip. Tipping is just not part of Japanese culture, and in some cases, it just might cause confusion, so I would avoid it. All right, now we're moving on to the last part of this video, part number 6. Etiquette. In general, smoking is not allowed inside restaurants. Some places may have designated areas for smoking. I see this a lot in cafes, but it's best to assume that smoking is prohibited unless there's a sign saying otherwise. If a restaurant is busy, it's common knowledge that you can stay for up to 2 hours only. Sometimes they say this up front by saying something like "Nijikan seido arimasu" once you sit down or before you enter a restaurant. At cafes like Dutour or Tully, sometimes this can only be 90 minutes, and they will usually hand you a piece of paper that says up to what time you can stay inside the cafe. Eating while walking is generally frowned upon even in shopping streets. Even if you're enjoying street food, you stop at one place and finish eating it before you start walking again. You do not eat inside trains or buses unless they are for sightseeing. Now, how do you differentiate between a sightseeing train and a commuter train? Just ask yourself, is your seat reserved? Because if it is, then yes, you can eat in peace. Otherwise, nah. And finally, tip number 35, perfume is a no-no in high-end restaurants. In general, Japanese people don't usually wear perfume, and I'll explain that further in the next travel tips video, but in terms of restaurants, strong scents can interfere with the delicate aroma of food, which are an essential part of Japanese dining. Japanese cuisine often emphasizes subtle flavors and fresh ingredients, especially sushi, and overpowering fragrances can detract from the enjoyment of food of not just you, but the others around you, so it can be considered a nuisance to wear perfume. I know not a lot of people outside Japan consider wearing perfume a public nuisance, but in Japan it can be, especially if you're eating sushi, so be careful. That is a long list to get through, but I hope it has been helpful. And if it was for you, please leave this video a like or share among friends because it will really help this small, struggling channel. I really appreciate it. Now, this food tips video is the third in my series about Japan travel tips. And if you haven't watched the others, go give it a watch. They're in the description box. Now, the final installment of this series is about how not to be a hated foreign tourist in Japan. Tan tan tan, controversial. Now, if you want to get notified when it's uploaded, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell, and I'll see you there. This has been Mizhelle for Tokyo Pass 3. Until next time, bye! Adios! Sayonara! Bye bye! じゃあね! 疲れた.